Okay, but anyways, let's move on to Mekkatorque's workshop, and this is the segment, guys, where we come up with our own custom cards in hopes of Blizzard maybe taking a look, maybe pulling on some of these cool concepts that some of our viewers, as well as myself and Noxious, come up with. So let me go over here. Today we've got a couple from Adam A, one from Halfried H, and then a couple from Noxious's Twitch chat, which is pretty interesting. So let me bring up, the first one is Shatari Peacekeeper from Adam A, and it's right here. Okay, so it is a Paladin card. It's a 4-drop, a 1/4 stat, rare card, Battlecry, swap attack with an enemy minion. So, kind of like Alderman. A little bit has maybe some elements of Alderman, but it benefits greatly, though. Instead of, Alderman just transforms something, right? This basically humiliates them and then actually gets the benefits of it. So, Xixo, what do you think about this card?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is nice. It would have to have more than one attack, because with one attack it's just too overpowered.
Yep, I
But
agree.
it was like maybe a 2 or a 3/4, maybe. That's like reasonable, I don't know. But like, as a 1/4, it's definitely too strong.
So it should be a 2/4? What were you saying?
I'm not sure. Probably.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's
Oh, you mean what
force,
it
but
gives? Yeah, what it gives the
yeah,
other minion. Yeah. I know
just
what you mean.
1/4, it's just
It's
too good.
basically humility. It's crazy. It's like Aldor on crack. It's
Yeah,
pretty good.
that's pretty much. I mean, the fact that it could just become like a 4-mana 6/4 Battlecry, reduce the attack of an enemy minion by like to 1 is pretty crazy. I like the concept. The fact that it actually gives them the attack, and they're still able to silence it off if they want to. Like, it's not like a permanent buff that's going to be there forever, so I don't mind that. The thing that's funny to me is that, like, as Xixo mentioned, at 1 attack, it doesn't even give them a minion that's able to kill the Peacekeeper over any amount of time, right? Like, you give them a 2 attack minion, at least it's 2 swings before the Shatari dies.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
after you played it at turn 4, you have a 7/4, they have a 1/7.
Yeah.
Like,
It's pretty. it's
just
pretty
like,
good.
GG. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, yeah. I think it's an interesting concept, though. I'd like to see this type of card. That'd be pretty sweet. In fact, I'd rather see this kind of card than Oldemon, to be honest.
Yeah.
It would at least be in line with Aldor and what they generally do, right? With humility and just all the other cards that essentially just remove attack. So
I mean, I think the theme of the card should probably change. Like, I'm not, because I just want to go full lore nerd on these guys, because I just like WoW lore. But a Peacekeeper doesn't have any business swapping its own attack with the enemy, right? Like, some construct might do that. Some animated construct or whatever might be able to do something. Because this is way too weird. It's like, I'm a Peacekeeper and I've got 1 attack. So it's like you have a bouncer at a bar, right? Picture that guy, right? He's a bouncer at a bar, and he's like absolute shit at defending himself until a really big dude comes along. And he's like, "I'm stealing your strength, dude." And he just like saps the strength of the big dude coming into the bar, and then he bounces him out. It's like the bouncer has to be strong.
He's a magical peacekeeper,
you
right?
probably have to make him like another theme, like an animated guardian of Shitrath or whatever. That's kind of what I'm saying. But the theme, I mean, the ability itself is cool. I just don't think it's on the right shell.
Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the next one here. We've got, let's see, it is Mirror Totem.
Oh shit!
Like Shaman needs anything, but Mirror Totem is a 3-mana 3/1 totem, rare card, and Battlecry gain the stats and abilities of all friendly totems. Wow.
I'm piecing the fuck out.
Okay, this one is way too powerful. like I don't even know. I mean, it would have to be like a 0/1 or something like that. For
how do you use it? Is it that powerful? I'm not sure. It's like, how many totems are you expected to have when you play it?
1 totem golem, let's say. It's like a 6/5.
I mean, it doesn't even matter if you have 1. It's still great. Like, you mana tide
Let's assume
totem,
you have only Flame Tongue, right? Let's assume you have only spell damage. Spell damage is like a 3-mana 3/3 with spell damage.
Okay,
it's not
but
that
if you have a
good.
spell damage totem, you win the game anyway. So
Yeah.
why even care?
Well, even if it, like, let's just say let's say it's mana tide totem, right? You gain the stats too. So this thing's not dying. Like,
It's a 3/4, yeah.
yeah, you get 3/4, and then if you have like 2 totems, then this thing's like a 3/6, right? So
Well,
this,
it starts with, it would be a 3/5. It depends if they have 3 health or 2 health.
yeah.
All I'm saying is like Totemic Might makes this guy pretty cool. I like the
Yeah.
fact that it is like a Totemic Might card. I'll give it that much. I think it's fucking fantastic that there's like this one card that's created that makes you want to play Totemic Might because you can double up on the health gain.
It's too powerful though. It should be gain like stats of like a single totem or something like that. Stats and ability of a single totem, because it'd be a 3/3 with whatever ability that totem had. I think I'd be okay with that.
Be worded in a way where it doesn't have any basic stats, like
Yeah.
faceless, for example. Like faceless, when you
Yeah,
play it, it
Faceless
doesn't have the 3
Shambler,
HP
yeah.
that
Yeah.
it has
Okay.
by nature. So
Sure.
it's like if you play one totem, it's just the same sets as a totem.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know how you would word it, but yeah, I guess it shouldn't have basic stats.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. But
Yeah.
definitely interesting concept though. Just more of a totem centric type of shaman.
I mean,
which we kind of meant ever since Tuskar changed, we pretty much haven't had a totem heavy totem, just using fusion and all those cards that were. It was kind of cool during that time. It was just too powerful, right?
yeah. I mean,
Actually,
can you
Xixo,
imagine-
you were using it I think you were one of the first people to use
Yeah, I played
Kaiser
it
fusion.
like
Mhm.
the week after release at the first major, which was Dreamhack Austin.
Mhm.
But yeah, the issue isn't that Tuskar cycled out. Tuskar wasn't even that great in the deck. It's just that the expansions just like power creeped, so other shamans became stronger.
Gotcha.
They
Noxious, you were
found
gonna
a
say
way.
something? You were about to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the fact that this is a totem in and of itself means you can play the second one and just double up. Create
Yeah.
like like a mirror totem. There have been attempts at designing a card like this in the past, but they involved consuming the totem. So you would kill them, put him on this one guy. So you would like put your eggs in one basket, and the
Like
totem would
void
have like
terror type of thing. Mhm.
yeah, kind of a void terror effect, which of course is pretty. Like, why would shaman want to lose their board unless you find a way to give it charge or whatever? So it's kind of an interesting concept, but it's tough to make like playable without breaking it.
Okay. Well, those two were from Adam A. So thanks so much, Adam, for showing us those. The next one's from Helfried H, which is Hallowed Priest, Hallowed Witch, which is a priest that is a 2-mana 4/4. So it's got the Millhouse stats, and then the effect, actually a rare card, and the effect is the enemy hero is immune. So this would be like the first card that actually makes your opponent's hero immune, I believe. Anything else immune? Yeah, I think that this is it, right? This is like global immune. So as long as this is alive, so it's meant to, I guess, get a 2-for-1 on the board, essentially. Then the hero, obviously the hero cannot be damaged. What do you think about this? Xixo?
Yeah, so Renolock was actually talking about a similar card that existed in Magic. It was just like this card that was super overstated, but you couldn't win the game while it's on the board. And that card ended up being very broken just because you always get bored basically just by having it overstated.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That card is different because it just doesn't just say you can't win the game, but you can't even deal damage while it's on. Yeah, I'm actually unsure because it's like a pretty poor draw later on, but it just seems too strong to play on turn 2. So it's like a totem golem without overload and with one more stat. So yeah, I think it's just like into the early game and then you just go face afterwards.
After you trade it in. The interesting thing
Yeah.
would be is given that it's priest, like, do you buff this thing? Like, do you put powered shield on this thing?
Oh, it's a priest card. I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
guess
is.
then it's
That's
fine.
the
That's
insane
kind of
part. Like, that's
interesting.
what makes it really,
Yeah.
really good. Because it doesn't die, and you probably don't lose board ever. I'm exaggerating because there are, Hex and Devolve say, screw you. But the point is, it's just a very
This-
solid minion. It does what Wormist Agent wants to do, but without the requirement of being a dragon, like having a dragon.
This is why you play Purify, guys. This is it. This is the reason right here. But yeah, I think
Oh
that
my
makes it really
God.
interesting. I think it makes it really interesting.
Yeah.
The fact that you can't. I mean, you have that decision. You need to sacrifice this guy just to be able to really cash in on your tempo, or you just keep this and continue growing the tempo lead
Actually,
you
this
have.
card is like super unplayable, right? Because Priest can't kill 4 attack minions. So once you play that, you can never kill it off. So you just like the opponent just armors up castles for the rest of the game, and you die to fatigue every time. And Tomb doesn't even work on friendly minions. So yeah, you need a minion that the Priest can kill
Purify!
himself. Like if you play that, the warrior
Okay.
just armors up for the next 30 turns that you can't win, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's true.
yeah.
That's true. Well,
you
okay.
really have
Well,
to
there's
think
got to
about
be a card that you can. I mean, you have to. I guess you'd have to have something that buffs it.
Well, you
and
can
kill
holy
it.
fire it if you want, technically.
Yeah, you could only fire it. You could Kazakus and do some spell to it.
Polymorph. Sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. The counterplay is
5 mana
hero
pod.
power. That would be so awesome. Okay, well, anyways, that's interesting. I mean, but these are the type of cards I think are interesting. Really
Yeah.
changes like how you look at how not only to play this card, but how this card affects many other scenarios. So, yeah, actually, I really like how this is designed, or at least the problems this presents. It's got a little bit of dirty rat feel to it in some way, and because of that, it doesn't have the same function at all, but it affects other aspects of the game, which is cool. Okay, well, let's see. The next one is Twitch chat. This is Noxious's Twitch chat. They came up with let's see, Dark
Right.
Spear
So-
Sentry. Why don't you intro this?
So I want to preface this by saying that the process of making the card was the most interesting, because I was reading Ben Brode's post on Reddit about design, space, complexity and depth, and I was trying to explain to the chat, because I get like tweets and private messages and emails that somebody says, "Hey, I made 12 cards or 20 cards. Look at them and tell me what you think." And they're cards like, you start the game with 40 health, and then you draw an extra card at the beginning of each turn. But if you have 5 or more cards, you discard 1 card and you lose
Wow.
2 health. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so this card, I'm sure, is fucking amazingly balanced and it's great and fantastic. But the problem you're running into right now is that it doesn't work in Hearthstone because it's too much wording for an effect that doesn't need to be that word heavy, right? And I was trying to explain that to the chat. So what I did is I went through the process of telling, like, we tried to create a card from the bottom up.
Right.
Because you can usually go and say, I want to make a Murloc Paladin card, right? And I'm sure when Blizzard made Anything Can Happen, they weren't thinking, let's make a 10-cost Paladin spell. They started with, let's make a Murloc Paladin card. And what could that be? And then they came up with the idea. But they didn't start with the mana cost or, what they wanted the card to do initially. And so we started with the exact opposite, which is, let's start with the mana cost. Let's start with the archetype. People said they wanted a control card. I asked them to vote on the class. They straw polled. They voted for Hunter. So they wanted a control Hunter card. And then I asked minion, weapon, spell. They said minion. So they want a control Hunter minion. And, we went for rarity to make it more niche. They chose Epic because it doesn't work in every single deck as opposed to a common card that tends to. And so by going through this elimination process, we came up with people wanting a control Hunter minion Epic that would have taunt and have to do with secrets. And so we ended up kind of brainstorming with the chat, and we settled on this card, which so it's a 5-mana 3/6 with taunt. Whenever you play a secret, so you have to play it from hand, you destroy a random enemy minion. So it gives you like a free deadly shot. So on turn 8, you can play this with Cloaked Huntress and dump your secret hand. However, if you're a hunter and you've been keeping the Cloaked Huntress and a bunch of secrets in your hand on turn 8, I mean, you probably are fucked. But, if you did, if for whatever reason Hunter control becomes a thing, then big reward, you get to wipe out the enemy board and do funny stuff. And worst case scenario, it's a 5-mana 3/6 with taunt on curve. And if it lives one more turn, you play a secret, you can kill something on top of it. So it was like a very well-rounded card across the board with some combo potential, which I thought was interesting. And this is Twitch chat, voting and brainstorming with a ton of ideas, and we picked and choose.
Twitch designs Hearthstone, basically.
Yep.
Okay, Xixo, what do you think of this card?
Yeah, it's like it needs to be statted in a way where if it depends on 5, the opponent most likely has an answer to remove it. With 3/6, that might just be good enough. Like it might just be where it's supposed to be, but it needs more testing. I'm not quite sure if the stats are perfect, but they might be. Just like it shouldn't feel like it's too high HP where like half the time the opponent can't answer it and they just lose.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think
I don't
3/6.
five.
Like I've been obviously playing Crazed Worshipper a lot recently with the whole Cthulhu thing, and with
sure.
Buffet in and stuff, and it's actually really nice to have that 6-statted. We haven't really gotten a chance to experience it very consistently outside of Druid, right? Just having a taunt with that's health stat. and it's really resilient, especially with this kind of aggro meta that we're seeing. So I think this card isn't even bad just to have to throw out there sometimes. And then on top of that, if you can save coin, and then you end up with a Huntress on turn 3, and maybe you save like one of your secrets, and then you coin into this, then I mean you get big swings. Especially if your trap is a freezing trap too, then it's insanely good, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it lives, right? Like that's the point. Is the type of card that doesn't do anything on curve because you can't play a secret with it unless somehow you have Cloaked Hunters left over. And it does so much if it lives and you have the right cards to go with it. Bro, like Hunter doesn't do that very well, but if it happens to, then...
Well, my point was it doesn't even have to live. You can actually make plays on this play if you actually have the Huntress on the board.
Right, but it's very difficult to...
Yeah, it's situation. It's a very, I don't know, pretty rare situation, I guess. But those are the kind of plays that you just win games. Like literally, you win games in that one play because it's such a huge tempo swing. Yep. You kill something, you add a taunt like this, and you get to put a freezing trap on the board. That's pretty crazy.
Seems good.
Yeah, seems pretty good.
Seems good. Until you realize you're at 5 health and there's a pirate board and a lava burst, then suddenly it's not as good.
It's definitely something a hunter needs, though, right now. Like, a hunter needs that kind of... I mean, I don't know if it's exactly this, but it needs one of those type of situational, very powerful tempo play that I think it's missing right now. Yeah, it's... I could see it. I could see them maybe trying to do something. It would at least be kind of, again, secret-centric. Right now at 5, we have the... what was it? The Avian Watcher?
Avian Watcher.
Yeah. And the Avian Watcher is... What's the stats on the Avian Watcher? I forget. It's like...
It's a
3/6 plus 1 plus 1. Plus 1 plus 1, right? Yeah.
It becomes a 4/7 with taunt, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah, that card I played around with for a while too, but there was just nothing to do behind it. Like, that was powerful enough. But
well, again, on turn 8 with Cloaked Huntress, you get a 3/4, a 4/7, and like 2 secrets that are reactive. Like, it's actually not bad, but the point is, like, you never get to play them as combo. You'll play this one as much of a combo piece as you'll do the Avian Watcher, which is never. So it has to have some measure of impact that you can control a bit more. And the Avian Watcher requires that your secrets are not triggered. So you really have to have a specific secret, and the opponent needs to not trigger it. And given that that's often Snake Trap where you don't have a board, you're probably dead right now without a board at that point. So
that's true.
It's been very difficult to make that secret work.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The last one we have here, and again, this is from Noxious's Twitch chat. You want to introduce this one?
Sure. So this is a priest card, a combo priest card. People wanted a combo card. They wanted it to be a priest card. I asked, weapon, minion, or spell. They opted for weapon. I asked for the mana cost. They said 10. So we had to design a 10 cost priest weapon that had to do with combo spells, that had to do with combo, and the shadow theme. So they wanted a damage-related spell.
Oh my god.
Or a potential combo piece for, Mind Blast priest. And it took so long to iterate something that didn't feel like it was either too good or too bad, because it's like a 10 cost weapon has to be good, but it can't. I mean, it has to do something retarded. Like, otherwise it's unplayable. So what we went for, we had like so many iterations. Like, it has +5 spell damage, and it would draw a card when you played a spell. Something like combine Malagos and Gaddis and Auctioneer in one card, and it's boring. It's not fun.
Yeah. So
the current version of the card is a 10 mana 2/6 weapon for priest that costs 6 while you're in shadow form. So you want to play shadow form in your deck. And if it costs you 6 on turn 10, that means you have 4 open mana. And the card reads, whenever you cast a spell, cast an extra copy of it. So you would, if you play Thought Steal, replay Thought Steal. You would, if you played Mind Blast, play 2 Mind Blasts.
Sure.
So it would always double up your spells. In the case of an effect like Mind Control, it wouldn't work. Kind of like Bran Cabal Shadow Priest that fizzles on the second Battle Cry. This would fizzle on cards like Shadow Madness, Potion of Madness, because the point of the card is not to be used in those archetypes. So that's like a creative way to add potential to combo decks without making you want to do it, and it also makes you want to play shadow form, because right now there's not much of an incentive.
I feel like it's really powerful.
It feels that way until it's not. Like,
well, I don't think it's overpowered. I think balance-wise it seems fine to me. I just think that the issue is that, like, it's just Hearthstone is very simple, and people want to keep it that way, so they won't print any weapons for other classes. So this will never happen. Like, this has to be somehow made into a spell or a minion, because
I mean,
won't get weapons.
they've done Medivh with Atiyesh, but that's a neutral card.
Yeah,
I'm
but
pretty
it's
sure
not a
at
weapon
some point.
itself.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
like
pretty sure at some point we might see something, but
Well,
I think
if
it's
we
always
did,
like maybe weapons that summon minions that summon weapons, but I don't think they will ever directly print weapons for other classes.
interesting. Okay.
yeah, they're definitely very hesitant to do that, and I mean, I think they've even come out and said it, right? Like, I would be surprised if we do see at least a priest weapon anytime soon. But okay, I mean, it's definitely interesting. It doesn't. I mean, there's still a factor when it comes to combo cards of drawing with priests, so you still have to figure out that that issue. And a card like this, if this is what your deck was built around, the people just obviously save ooze for it, right? It's just like Medivh, if they know you have Medivh in your hand, they're never gonna use like ooze until this comes out. Especially this is the only weapon, so of course they wouldn't even use ooze.
Yeah.
So that's the part that was that might be difficult, but it's cool. It's definitely an interesting way of like incentivizing you to do shadow form, and
So yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, like the previous card, the Darkspear Sentry, and this Anathema weapon, those were the creation of Twitch chat through a very messy process of brainstorming. And I
Right.
think it's interesting that when you make people vote for certain things, you're then forced like in weird constraints where you have to come up with these really wonky things. And this is the type of card that comes out of it when you go bottom up with an idea without having any like notion of where it's going to end up, and you don't have like a themed expansion, for instance. You can come up with really cool concepts, and that's why I was kind of interested in the experiment, and I'm eager to repeat it at some point.
yeah, okay, very cool. All right, well, anyways, guys, thanks for submitting all those cards. We had quite a few. We've had a lot of emails and card submissions lately, and we're not going to get to all of them today, so we'll have to save some for next week. But keep them coming. It's been awesome getting a chance to see you guys doing that. And you can send those to valuetown@chanmanv.tv if you guys have some Mekkatorque's workshop cards you guys would like to present and think are awesome, as well as questions for us each week, which we're about to go into Q&A right now. And we're taking emails these days, so not so much the live ones, just given that we have so many listeners for our Value Town, we want to make sure we include them. So this week, we've got an email from Spooky, who said, in one episode many months ago, Noxious said that Cho'Gall was made unplayable because the effect is too strong. What's the point of making a card then? I don't really see this as a fun card either, so so you could say it was made for the casuals to have fun besides killing yourself with Cho and Doom. I have fun doing that. What do you mean? No. So let's talk about Cho'Gall. Xixo, how far away is Cho'Gall from being a viable card?
I think it's like, I mean, obviously it's just not good enough to be playable in any meta, but I think if the meta was slower, it would be close to being playable. But right now, it's like, don't even try. Like, what's the point of playing a 7-mana card that when you die on turn 5? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah, like in a slow meta, like a card like that could see play with like when you have some stuff that combos with it.
You have to.
Yeah.
We'd have to have heal though, right? Heal has to be present somewhere for us to play a card like that.
Yeah, I mean, you need a ton of healing. It's because that's the thing, is the amount of health. So what the funny thing about the card is that let's assume you're not playing Renolock, right? And you're putting this in your deck. Then it does what you want it to. If you're playing Renolock, you just look at this and say, oh, you're just a worse Inkmaster Solia right now.
Right.
So
exactly.
you have to at least like find a really good spell to justify, and you don't have like a Pyroblast in the class that just lets you push some crazy amount of burst. Like your 10 cost spell is an AoE clear, which kills Cho'Gall. Incidentally, that's not what you want to be doing with your health that turn most of the time. So even in a slower meta, you'd have to find like the perfect spell like Shadow Flame to use it with, and then there are better outlets for Shadow Flame already. So it's difficult to
I think
they'd have to make a spell that makes you want to go, fuck yeah, I'm playing Cho'Gall right the hell now. Like you'd have to find it.
Well, it has to be a swing turn, like so. It can't be like a 10-mana spell. It'd have to be like something that does. I would imagine something that does 5 damage, and something that's in that 4 or 5 health range, right? 4 or 5 mana range. I think
Blast
that
Crystal
would be
Potion,
good.
but I mean, what?
Yeah,
really?
but that kills it. That kills it too, right? Like
No,
you're talking about
Blast
Felfire?
Crystal.
Oh, Blast Crystal. But that
Yeah, Blast
isn't Cho'Gall
Crystal.
7 though. Yeah, so that's Cho'Gall 7. So
But
Blast
you can use
Crystal
your
gives us
health.
4
That's the
health.
point.
Okay.
If you go Cho'Gall, Blast Crystal, 3-mana card, the question is like, what 3-mana card do you weave in at the end of that sequence?
I mean, I'm looking at turn 7 play. I'm not looking at turn 10 play.
Well, Siphon Soul, Shadow Flame are known to be like the best possible outcomes, pretty
sure.
much. I think right now, maybe I'm wrong, Xixo, but I think they're the best.
Siphon, you'd only take
Yeah,
3
I mean,
damage, right? So
no one plays Cho'Gall because it's just like not a good card, but maybe it would need other spells to work with than the current ones Warlock has.
Yeah. It's missing support cards, basically. They could have made it really, really good, but they chose to be... that's a card that makes some spells you want to make uncreatable, because then, hey, what if this is too good? That's a fear. Like, you can't... I guess with, like, I've actually tried that card in some weird mid-range lock with Karakazam, whatever the fuck the name of that card is. It's like you get a 7/7, a 3/3, a 2/2, a 1/1. It's like, hey, here's my huge board on turn 7. It's done stuff in casual games, but in competitive play, I don't know, man.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. It would be nice. Like Cho'Gall, when Cho'Gall first came out, I was really excited about that card. I thought that was a very good opportunity for a potentially late game Warlock or even a mid range Warlock to get a swing that would be, really great for that. Unfortunately, right now it's just like all board clearing stuff for the most part for Warlock. And there's, if you look at the Warlock minions, they're not good at all. Like if you look at, there's only like Enforcer and, I mean, what else do we play right now? Like,
well, Enforcer's
Imp
basically
Gang
better than
Boss,
Cho'Gall, right?
Yeah, Imp Gang Boss. I mean, there are not very many great minions to play in the classic set, and even just the all the expansions together right now. So it's very hard to play some more this kind of mid range or some kind of board centric Warlock. Not so necessarily Zoo, but something board centric where you can actually utilize Cho'Gall. That's a little bit later. So I feel like a lot needs to change before you are able to play Cho'Gall. Yeah. And Reno going away too. It's just like you better be adding Healbot back or something similar to Healbot for Warlocks to have a little bit more variety. Otherwise, it's like they're gonna turn into hunters and rogues. You just die, like after taking phase damage like 4 or 5 turns. So
maybe it's fine. Maybe it's okay.
Yeah, maybe it's okay. All right, Ahmed N asks, what do you guys think the average number of turns of a Hearthstone game should be? I ask this as I think Blizzard likes having an aggro meta where a game finishes before turn 10. Really? Turn 5 to be exact, as it caters to the market segments of playing on phones and tablets. Do you think average turns is a KPI they have when testing to keep the game short?
Yeah,
it's a good question. It's a good question.
So KPI, for those who are not familiar with the term, is key performance indicator, which means it's just like a metric you use to calibrate basically your game, right, and some of the variables in it.
Yeah, what do you think, Xixo?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, since everyone hates Renolocks, the perfect turn where games should end is 5. But other than that, obviously, like I think that like between 8 and 11 is a good like. Obviously, sometimes tournaments can be grindy, but I think like if the average turn like game would end on like turn 9 or so, that would be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they definitely keep track of that Blizzard and the stats, but I think right now it's a little too early. I think the game is decided a little too early in the current meta.
Or too late. It's funny because like there's no average length anymore. It's either, hey, this is now on turn 5, or here we are 35 turns later, and I'm on to my 7th Kazakus potion.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, can you please like pick one middle ground?
But that's fine, right? Because it's like 1 out of like 100 games that goes that grindy.
Right, it goes
like,
very long. You're right.
I think it's fine having like those games occasionally, as long as it's not too frequent.
And occasionally meaning when you play ChanManV on ladder is basically what you mean. I definitely love those long games, but I think they take it into account. I don't think they necessarily take it into account when they're designing the game.
Well, they are.
You think so?
The Jade mechanic is 100% them trying to control the game length. It's them just trying to say, here's this control deck we're making, and we're gonna fucking give you the tools to end the game. Like to them, the Jade mechanic was definitely a way for a control deck to just to finally close out the game before turn 35. Because Warrior, for all the good it was, just dragged on its win condition no matter what it was playing up against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. They definitely wanted to contain even contain mill decks, contain all these different types of things, and a long game is definitely one of the things that a Druid, a Jade, Jade Druid, Jade Shaman would contain for sure. Okay, I hate to think of it that like they would do that, because it really shouldn't play a role. But when you're designing mobile games, I know for a fact that yes, like your average time of like session time is definitely something that you take into account. So that's a bummer. Yet another reason why design is limited by mobile. But it'd be interesting to hear like them actually answer that question. I'd actually love to hear one of them answer that question. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to answer. I think you think anybody would answer that question if we asked them that? Given the community's
it's a double-edged sword, man.
Given the community's backlash towards like it being mobile.
The community, like I'm telling you, Reddit's post, like somebody's gonna post on Reddit, like the devs love aggro shaman and why you will never see a control meta, and it's gonna be that one quote that says, "We're trying to make sure the games don't last too long," and then somebody's gonna say, and they're gonna give an explanation of what they feel like, and they're gonna be like, "So this is why the dev team is fucking incompetent, because they're not designing from the standpoint of like pure game quality. They're just designing for mobile games, which is obviously a cheap platform because it's just about money. So greedy devs, fuck them." Like this is essentially what the first Reddit post is going to come up with. And so, yeah, and answering that, I probably wouldn't. I just wouldn't do that. I would never answer that. I'd be like,
considering Blizzard always prints like multiple cards for like one archetype, it seems like Blizzard kind of like decides what the deck should look like before they print the set. They don't just like print like 100 random cards and like let people figure out what to do with it. They print like those like 5 archetypes, like get 5 new cards each or whatever, and like they kind of want to like have the decks be built before the set comes out already. I don't know.
At least one set. Yeah,
it's obvious that they kind of do that. Like Beast Druid got like 7 cards at once or whatever. It's obvious that they want to force something to be there.
Yeah,
they're all linear.
Magic
too.
the Gathering does the same, right? Like it's funny because in Magic, the devs internally oftentimes have like not the exact deck lists of the tournament winners, but they have a very, very solid approximation of what the meta will look like. They have like let's say 3 decks internally that they know are going to be the top decks. They're like, this is what we're going to be seeing in tournaments, no doubt. And they do it on purpose through power creep and just powerful cards that end up, they close out games. And the few times that hasn't happened, the result was like, here's this one card we completely overlooked and we printed, and the result is we ban it because this shit's too fucking good. Like they know exactly what's going to be coming out. So it's funny, there's still surprises on Blizzard's end. They mentioned recently that Spirit Claws was not meant to be good. It was meant to be like a terrible card to calm down the community about Shaman. And like, obviously everybody's like, oh, I'm sure that worked out. But, they do get surprised by the way the community uses the cards, because even then, like, if you look at Shaman back then, yes, Spirit Claws was added, but a few iterations, it still took a few iterations before it solidified. And then, like, this meta, I'd say, was maybe in the last 2 weeks the most solidified it's ever been. But before that, it was still kind of shifting a bit and, getting people trying out new stuff. So now we're entering the era, like the I don't know, Ice Age of this meta, where we just like wait and freeze to death until the new expansion comes out. But yeah, new cards definitely surprised them, which is interesting.
Okay, well, yeah, that's well, that'll be pretty interesting. I hope one day they do actually answer something mobile related. But that's gonna be it though, guys, for the Q&A. I guess one last thing I wanted to bring up, it's more kind of a community thing, or maybe just a friend that at least we know in the community. Freshka, is a longtime player and friend that was in a car accident recently. I didn't actually even realize that until like a couple days ago. So he's a really bad accident too. So he's been in the hospital for a long time. So I wanted to, kind of wish him well and, just with him recovery. Thankfully, he's okay and he's on the road to recovery now, but it's going to be a long road and just lots of medical bills and not being able to work and things like that. So I figured I'd mention it because he's always been a good guy. Early days of StarCraft or not StarCraft, Hearthstone beta. I remember, just talking just decks and stuff with Freshka a long time, and he was a pro at 1.2. I'm not sure if he's just, more of a streamer these days than more so than a pro, like an outright event playing pro, but he's always been a great guy. And so I just wanted to mention that and mention that he does have a Fundly that somebody started for him just to help out with, some of his medical bills. So check that out if you can, guys. And I know a lot of you don't know him, but the folks that do know him, definitely check that out and, maybe send a donation his way to help out with that. But want to wrap up the show, guys, and Xixo, fantastic having you on. We got to have you on more, dude. Like, this would have this be a start of a trend, that that'd be awesome. But you got any you got any shout outs you want to do? Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter mostly. I like shitposting over there. And yeah, thanks to you for having me. And thanks to my team and my teammates for helping me out with all that stuff the past months. So cheers.
Yeah, CLG 2017 Hearthstone. That's going to be pretty awesome to see. Noxious, shout outs?
Yeah, big shout out to you, man, for putting this episode together. Yeah. As usual, and of course, shout out to all the patrons who helped the show be supported. I mean, the milestone, the Smilestone milestone has been
it's been awesome.
Has been reached, repeatedly, and that's really comforting. Given that, just we're looking at last year, we were really looking at the show like, okay, guys, we got to get this thing on the road, and you guys have helped a lot, so appreciate it.
Yeah, and we want to do some more, in 2017. So I've been kind of asking just a bit on the Patreon or just to all the patrons, see what you guys are interested in, as well as I'll probably start posting more weekly update videos, like just on the actual Patreon, just to give you guys some more content there and keep you updated on what we're doing just with the show and all that stuff. But yeah, just like Noxious said, huge thanks to you guys. You guys have been fantastic. Obviously the last few months, particularly. And this year's been off to a great start. So hopefully we can continue it in 2017, grow it too. That'd be amazing. But in terms of the show and just the VODs, just my shout outs. Shout out to the both of you guys, of course, for doing the show with me. All the folks for watching. I know Trinity's going on, so thanks for sticking around and actually watching us talk about Hearthstone instead of it's Talkstone over Playstone. But if you missed any of the show, you can catch it on youtube.com/ChanManV. The audios will be available on iTunes, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, all of the places you can listen to podcasts, but particularly iTunes. That'll be probably updated later tonight or early morning, depending on when iTunes updates. But the VODs will be up probably like an hour after the show, so you can check it out there and let folks know if you enjoy the show. And tune in next week whenever we're back with hopefully another guest. That'd be awesome. But until then, for Xixo, Noxious, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Later.
Peace.